For more on this, I'm now joined from The Hague by Jeffrey Nice. He worked at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, or ICTY, between 1998 and 2006, and he led the prosecution of Slobodan Milosevic, the former president of Serbia. Hello, thank you very much indeed for joining us on France 24. First of all, what's your reaction to this sentence?
It was an almost inevitable sentence. I hope it brings some solace to the victims who have had to wait such a ridiculously long period of time for this finding to be made.
Now, we've heard from Mladic's lawyer that there's going to be... Can you hear us okay?
I can, yes, indeed.
All right. I was just saying that we've heard from his lawyer saying that there's going to be an appeal. Does that mean that we're in for quite a drawn-out legal process?
Yeah, I fear so. Whether the prosecution will be appealing the acquittal of the first genocide allegation, I don't know. But appeals at this court last typically a couple of years. So yes, the process will be drawn out further, but I don't think it'll attract very much attention, because I doubt very much if there will be any change in the conclusion. This is a conservative judgment, unexciting, arguably unimaginative, and easily foreseeable. The genocide at Srebrenica could hardly be challenged, it having been found in other courts. But the court did nothing to explore the earlier genocide that's been alleged and that is very important, dating back to 92, 93. And it did, of course, nothing to connect what happened in Serbia with, Bosnia with the driving forces in Serbia, Milosevic and the rest of the state apparatus from Belgrade. And this court has let down, in my judgment, the victims of Srebrenica and of Bosnia generally, in keeping Serbia very much out of the dock.
Now, Serbia's president, a former ultra-nationalist who supported Mladic's war campaigns and now says he's a pro-EU reformer, he has urged Serbs to look to the future now, but he is also amongst the Serbs saying that this court has been biased against Serbs. It would appear that you would agree. I mean, does this verdict really help turn the page on what happened?
Completely, no. No, Serbia has been at every available turn given an easy ride by this court and also by the International Court of Justice. And it's very hard to understand quite why so many judgments or so many decisions on indictments have allowed Serbia off the hook. And with this decision, which takes us nowhere near Belgrade, this may be the last opportunity that the victims of Srebrenica and more generally in eastern Bosnia, or Bosnia generally, had of Belgrade being properly investigated for its role. Why Serbia should have been so favoured is a mystery, but it is a reality. And in due course, in centuries to come maybe, or decades or centuries to come, when finally the books of all the countries are opened as they should have been opened 22 years ago, then we'll find out exactly what happened. But the probabilities are, not to say the near certainties are, that the underlying Serb project, driven from Belgrade, lies behind what happened in Bosnia, just as it lies behind what happened in Croatia.
Now, this was the last major trial for alleged Balkan war crimes. What's your assessment of how effective the ICTY has been in delivering justice?
Well, depends what you mean by justice, really. Justice after 22 years is not much in the way of justice. If you consider that Nuremberg was done in 2 years, and 22 years after the end of the Second World War, Germany and Japan were established as countries well on the way to a future. I'm not sure that dragging things out for 22 years is justice either for the individuals or for the states concerned. Nevertheless, the tribunal has left an immense record of valuable evidence. It's returned some verdicts and decisions which may be important and acceptable over time. It's also, of course, been part of the overall process whereby people are adjusted to thinking that there should be accountability for war crimes. So yes, it's done a great deal. But what it has not done, and this I think is critical, it has not explored, first of all, to repeat, the connection of Belgrade and Serbia to what happened, and also it hasn't done anything to reveal the role of the Western powers, America in particular, Great Britain and probably France, in waving Srebrenica through, not necessarily expecting a mass atrocity to happen, although a great humanitarian disaster was certainly foreseen, and it's done nothing to explore that. And it may well be that one of the legacies of this tribunal, good though it has been in part, will be that people will no longer accept this kind of tortuous, slow, Anglo-Saxon trial process as the way to deal with matters of this sort. And after all, you as a journalist will want to know, remember and remind yourself that as early as the end of 1995, respectable journalists such as the New York Times could set out this history of this judgment with as much particularity, more or less, as we've had today. So why did it take 22 years to reach this position? Maybe the processes of law that have been imposed on these tribunals, a process of law that comes from, amongst other places, my country, were imposed as acts of imperialism, cultural imperialism, but also to ensure that other countries like our own, England, America, France, would never face two peremptory processes of judicial intervention. So it suits people, it suits Serbia, it suits the international community to have slow-moving justice. What it doesn't necessarily do is suit the victims. And it is those people who seem to be content today, and I'm very happy if eventually they are. But you have to compare the good that is done for them, having to worry about this for 22 years, with what would have happened if the truth had been made clear, as it easily could have been made clear by access to documents within a couple of years, and they would have had 2 decades of life to live without having to worry about resolution of comparatively easy truth to establish.
Jeffrey Nice, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us from The Hague.
You're most welcome.